Our respected Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, has arrived. Let us all welcome him. I now request Padma ji to welcome the respected Prime Minister with flowers.
Now I request Ila Ben Bhatt, the founder of SEWA, to facilitate the Honorable Prime Minister with a product made by a home-based worker from SEWA.
On behalf of SEWA and UNIFEM, I would like to welcome the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Manmohan Singh, who has so kindly given his valuable time for this issue, which generally remains invisible and unappreciated. I welcome the Honorable Ministers from the participating countries, the participants from 5 countries of South Asia, and the home-based workers who have come from all over India and from Nepal, and the distinguished guests to this conference. Let me start with who are the home-based workers, many of whom are here with you. They are workers and producers who produce goods and services in their own homes. In India, according to National Sample Survey, women home-based workers earned an average of rupees 27 per day, while in Bangladesh, their earnings are about 50 cents in US dollars. They have no social security coverage and spend much of their earnings on expenses like healthcare, childcare, and education. When they get old, there is no support. The objective of this conference is to address the commitments of policy, to urge for a national policy, including social security, to see how we can liberalize trade in order to sell our goods to each other as well as to the developed world unitedly.
Our Union of Agarbatti Workers has 20 to 25,000 women. There are no laws for home-based workers, nor is there any social security or recognition. My name is Padmavati Mahotra. I am a weaver.
I may count on my own experience of past 5 years in South Asia as the member of the SAARC Poverty Commission. Governance of laws and policies of social protection and incentives of home-based workers' networks are lacking in the region. India is yet to ratify the ILO Convention on Homework 1996, but we are glad that the Social Security Bill is being finalized by the Government of India. And if this happens, this will be a watershed in the lives of millions of workers.
I do believe that women's empowerment should be a major objective of our social, political, and economic policy in South Asia region as a whole. Most home-based workers happen to be women. The women of South Asia have waited far too long to secure equality in all senses of the term. Estimates suggest that there are around 50 million home-based workers in South Asia, and most of them happen to be women. In India, 57% of all women workers are home-based. The large number of home-based workers also reflects the fact that small units and enterprises are still the norm in countries of South Asia, with 86% of the workers in the manufacturing sector still working in small or household enterprises. In October 2000, the Uniform Conference on the Rights of South Asian Home-Based Workers adopted the Kathmandu Declaration. It highlights the need for a national policy on home-based workers in each country. Our government has provided funding for implementation of the recommendations of that conference. I would like this SAARC summit in New Delhi to consider the Kathmandu Declaration and address effectively the problems faced by home-based workers. The invisibility of home-based workers also extends to the media. The media too should listen more carefully to their needs. In this age of globalization and economic transformation, organizations of home-based workers have an important role to play in creating awareness about their situation. I congratulate SEWA for giving voice to the voiceless home-based workers. I assure you that our government will listen to your needs and extend recognition to the newly created network of home-based workers. Elaban has referred to the need for effective provision of social security for home-based workers. We are examining various possibilities, and I would greatly welcome any suggestions that may emanate from your conference. I look forward to receiving your recommendations. Our government will be happy to take forward the national policy for India as well as to facilitate the program for countries of South Asia.
Honorable Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, respected Elaban, who is the founder of SEWA, but a legion for all of us, Renana Ben, Jitun Ben, Padmaji, Honorable Ministers, representatives of HomeNets, Your Excellencies, UN colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and especially our 250 sisters from HomeNets of South Asia who are present here today. Namaskar, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum, and Ayubhuvan. I'd like to begin by thanking the Honorable Prime Minister. Your Excellency, we are greatly honored to have you with us. Allow me, sir, to convey to you our deepest appreciation, not only for your inspiring words, but also for your deep commitment to the empowerment of women, particularly home-based workers. I take this opportunity to express my special gratitude to SEWA, which is acknowledged worldwide as a leader in working to make rights a reality for workers in the unorganized sector. Founded by Elaban, SEWA is today a synonymous with social justice for workers in the informal sector. They form the most vulnerable section of the workforce, whose work is invisible, who have no voice, and who remain excluded from the benefits of economic growth, despite their contribution to the national economies. UNIFEM and SEWA feel privileged to be a part of this process, which has over the years taken many contours. A very special milestone that this conference marks is the launch of HomeNet South Asia. Formed in 2000 by SEWA and UNIFEM, this is a vibrant network of 600 organizations representing over 300,000 home-based workers from the 5 countries.
Overview and Journey of Home-Based Workers in South Asia by Ms. Renana Jhabwala, SEWA, and Dr. Jimol Unni, Professor, Gujarat Institute of Development Research, Ahmedabad, India.
So most workers in South Asia are in the informal economy. The informal economy is used to describe bank work which is small, it's unregistered, it's uncertain, it's unprotected. There are no formal working contracts, there's irregular employment, no wage inflation, uncertain earnings, uncertain hours of work, and no permanent employment and legal protection is what generally characterizes the informal economy.
Because of the flexible value chain, home-based work is seasonal. We have some figures here to show you. In Bangladesh, there is a peak season where men, this is now in dollars, where men earn $1.1 a day, women earn 0.5.
Overview and Journey of Home-Based Workers in Pakistan by Ms. Nigar Ahmad, President, HomeNet, Pakistan. Overview and Journey of Home-Based Workers in Nepal by Mr. Divakar Chand, President, HomeNet, Nepal. Government's Perspective on Home-Based Workers by Ms. Sumedha Jayasena, Minister of Child Development and Women's Empowerment, Sri Lanka. Global Perspective on Home-Based Workers by Ms. Elaine Jones, Director, WIGO Global Markets. The second session on increasing employment through trade was started with the keynote address by Mr. Jairam Ramesh, Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, India.
The most important thing that we have taken up is a sharp focus on those sectors which have great employment potential, which are fundamentally important to us, not from a foreign exchange point of view, but from an employment point of view. And the best example I can give you of this is the plantation sector. So from I've been telling our friends that if you look at these sectors from a foreign exchange point of view, they are not going to be your priority sectors or your thrust areas. But if you look at it from an employment point of view, they become fundamentally very, very important. Perhaps more important than some of the other sectors which are very high profile. So one of the big challenges that we have is how do we create these institutions? So what we have done in the Commerce Ministry, although this is traditionally not our bailiwick, we have laid a lot of emphasis on the direct involvement of women's self-help groups as primary institutions which will participate and manage any export expansion.
Thereafter, country presentations were made. Ms. Vinita Singh from Ethical Trade Initiatives India and Mr. Terence Simon from Monsoon Accessories India presented on developing a base code for home-based workers and contribution of home-based workers in exports.
On the cutting edge of actually putting a pressure on retailers so that when they are sourcing from different countries, they are continually improving the social and ethical performance in their supply chains.
Almost 25% of this sourcing involves some amount of handling. Now this figure is a little obscured by the fact that home workers largely remain invisible in the supply chains.
Ms. Sharmishta Mahapatra from SEWA Trade Facilitation Center shared STFC's experience on collective enterprises of home-based workers.
The key drivers to the growth that we have managed is that the district association and the artisans' own organizations in the village that are a very critical link in the supply chain is an important.
Ms. Shahnaz Kapadia from Empowerment Through Creative Innovations, Pakistan, presented on capacity building of home-based workers.
One is Orange Foundations and one is our own. I belong to an organization, it's a training and consulting company, and amongst the many other things we do, we work on local government capacity enhancement also.
And Ms. Kala Persis shared SIAT's Foundation's experience on trade and home-based workers.
Raw material for diversified value-added products. And in the value chain, you have to have a good existence to become a stronger player in the...
Ms. Elaine Jones from WIGO presented on work of the Global Markets Program and different initiatives' existence in fair trade for home-based workers.
Mechanisms for informed producers to enable them to gain access to global or export markets and initiatives to increase representative voice.
After the presentations, question was thrown from audience to Mr. Jairam Ramesh. Ms. Jhabwala asked the minister why his ministry did not provide certain protection, cover and programs to the sectors they covered as opposed to waiting for the unorganized sector bill.
It is through the imposition of a cess, a social security fund that has been created. Wheelie workers is a good example. The construction industry, I'm not talking about home-based, but the principle that you're enunciating, that why not you take a sector, in your case it happens to be a home-based industry sector, and then introduce social security for that. We have actually done this for handicrafts and handloom workers. That's in the last 1 year. And that's, by the way, an initiative that the ministry is taking. Although it's not my ministry, but I've been associated with it. It's the textiles ministry. We have actually running 2 schemes now for insurance. devoted exclusively, one insurance for artisans that you mentioned, and the other one is an insurance scheme for handloom workers. For handloom workers, the insurance scheme is through ICICI Lombard, which is the partnering insurance company, and for handicraft workers also. There is a subvention from the government, and we have actually now, like the Kisan credit card, we have an artisan credit card that is now being introduced. So we have made a beginning in handlooms and handicrafts. And my idea was that once we have some experience with handloom and handicrafts, we will move into other industries like leather and gems and jewelry as well.
In the session on the protection of home-based workers, Mr. Dan Gallin, Chair of Global Labour Institute, Geneva, presented a paper on ILO C-177 and strongly reiterated the need to ratify the convention at the country level. Several trade unionists from Nepal, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh made presentations on organizing home-based workers. The next day's session on Social Security was conducted. There were presenters from Institute of Social Studies Trust, where Ms. Ratna Sudarshan highlighted economic security, health and housing as the key needs of the home-based workers.
One of the first things that we realized when we started this study is that social security as a term is one that has evolved a great deal in the last 2 decades, and it is, so in order to actually do a study of social security, it is also always becomes essential to actually define the term. Some of the concepts that have been very influential in the thinking of social security include the idea that it is a way of coping with contingencies such as sickness, mortality, employment injury, unemployment.
The session also focused on the best practices on social security initiatives from the regions, including SEWA social security and the experience of disaster relief in Sri Lanka. Presenting the regional perspective, Mr. Mark Soke, ILO, highlighted country best practices in the region, like Bangladesh's maternity protection, the National Voucher Scheme, India's old age benefits, and the West Bengal Provident Fund.
It's all about a rights issue. And what is spectacular, of course, in this proposal, recent proposal prepared by the National Commission, it's the package of benefits they want to cover. It's also the coverage in terms of person, which is absolutely very, very huge. It's probably too ambitious, and it still raises a lot of implementation issues. But we have to recognize that India wants to do it.
Donna shared findings of HNSEA. She said, the relationship between economic security and social protection is a crucial one, particularly for home-based workers, more so for the women workers because of their irregular earnings, often lack of access to education, information, land rights and other assets. The National Commission on Enterprises in the Unorganized Sector highlighted the proposed coverage for the informal workers in the Social Security Bill in India.
Overview on the report of the National Minimum Social Security for Unorganized Workers submitted by the National Commission for Enterprises in the Unorganized Sector to the government.
The session on Voices of Women in South Asia highlighted experiences of organizing home-based workers. Dr. Naila Kabir began her presentation by illustrating how joining one's voice to the collective can shape public opinion, underlining how home-based workers are embedded in disadvantageous circumstances. There is a need to organize and build a collective voice which has to be heard by a range of actors in the development arena, especially the state. The experiences of organizing home-based workers into country home nets were also recounted in the session. Thereafter, country groups were formed to brainstorm about how to develop national policies on home-based workers. A drafting committee for formulating the Regional Strategic Action Plan for Home-Based Workers was formed. The third day began with Country HomeNet's presentation on national policy for home-based workers. The drafting committee of Regional Strategic Action Plan came up with an action plan emphasizing national policies on home-based workers, collection of data on home-based workers, building better and inclusive markets, ratification of ILO C-177 1996, and recognition of home-based workers.
We are so grateful and thankful to UNIFEM to support us in giving birth to HomeNet South Asia. We very much appreciate their continuous and tremendous support to us. We are also so happy and proud of looking at so many HomeNets sitting here coming together and presenting their plans towards forming the national policy.
Congratulating SEWA and UNIFEM, Mr. B.K. Chaturvedi, Cabinet Secretary, Government of India, in his valedictory address, highlighted the needs of home-based workers as upgradation of skills, microfinance, user-friendly technology, marketing, and social security.
South Asian region is important for the home-based workers. As it is, we represent 1/5 of the humanity. But as far as these home-based workers are concerned, I was just talking to Ranaji how many workers we have home-based. Difficult to say. The Chinese statistics we don't really know, but it's felt that it could be somewhere around 40-50%. It's a huge number. So now, even the home-based workers who but otherwise they are preparing things which might not have been noticed, they do get noticed because the entire region is being thought of now as a vibrant region, a very young population, literacy rates are rising and incomes are rising. As literacy and incomes rise, as the aspirations are rising, as more and more consumer goods come, as aspirations rise amongst workers for getting an appropriate and a decent wage, let me hope that today's adoption of the Charter would go a long way in improving the incomes, in generally generating better conditions for the home-based workers.
Ms. Chandani Joshi gave the sum up and vote of thanks to the participants for successfully completing the 3-day conference. HomeNet South Asia was formally launched by the Indian Cabinet Secretary, Shri B.K. Chaturvedi, with flowers, balloons and singing of We Shall Overcome in 5 languages. With the launching of HomeNet South Asia, a successful conference on women, work and poverty was completed.